So thank you, Gyan. That was
Thank
a
you.
wonderful movie to watch. Very entertaining and very fascinating. Before we start talking about the movie, I'd like to get a little bit of a sense as to what brought you to filmmaking and why did you choose to make the film in Gujarat and on the highway? What led to this particular movie?
I've been in advertising in Bombay, and I think I've always wanted to do something which is a little more deeper, you know. So I started traveling on highways and looking for stories about over the last 8 years, and I encountered a lot of people, a lot of stories, and from that these these storylines formed, these characters formed. And when I had completed writing it, I had a sense that it's a very sparse. I mean, it's a very hard place, the highway, but I found really good values, good people there, and I thought Kutch, where we shot, is very interesting. Its topography is, as you can see, but also the people and the color and the culture were very interesting. So I felt it was a good place to place the film.
Understand. Was there a particular reason why you chose to keep the language Gujarati or?
Uh, I always wanted to use real people, and they are Kutchi. That's the area of Gujarat that they are in. If they speak Hindi, it would be a bit comic, you know. So it's not their native tongue. So I decided to make it in Gujarati. Oh, and I also wanted to make a regional film. I didn't want to make a Hindi film. That's for sure. Yeah.
What was the motivation for that?
Because I think there should be more regional films. There is some support as well that I get because it's a regional film. But really, I think there should be more regional films. I think there are many regions, there are many regional languages in India, and there's a lot of flavor and color that comes out.
Excellent. And what led you to pick these particular themes and these particular characters?
Um, like I was saying in the beginning, I've always feel that, particularly say in Gujarat, which has been in the news for all, communal violence and things like that. Now, in Kutch, where I was amazed how well the communities integrate, live together. On highways, for example, it's not uncommon to find Muslims and Hindus coexisting in a truck. A caste Hindu cooking non-vegetarian for a food for a Muslim driver or vice versa.
As you had with Pappu and Shaukat.
That's right, yeah. So Shaukat actually does the puja. This is real, I've seen it, So I think all these things sort of came together, and this is really the sum of the experiences I had on the highway. But yes, the underlying thing is that I definitely feel it's staggering that in India people lead such a difficult life, but they have this genuine hope and positivity that I don't know how they go through the day, but they do. And most truck drivers, 99.9% of the time, deliver. They get their stuff from A to B. They could easily just walk away with it. You'd never know. They just disappear in the country.
That could certainly be true. As we're going on with the conversation, if people have questions, please feel free to raise your hands. I'm sure that Gyan will be happy to engage with you as well. Is your sense that the peculiarities you see in the highway in terms of how people are managing their lives, what do you think explains their willingness to bond in this manner in otherwise very harsh conditions?
I don't know. Maybe it's the culture, maybe it's the religion. But definitely there is an economic imperative that I was talking about earlier that seems to go. I mean, caste and caste division has some role to play. But I think the economic imperative that people have sort of overrides everything else. And suddenly new alliances are formed, and you see that happening constantly.
As you've been presenting this movie and doing screenings in the US, what has been the reaction that you've been receiving?
Varied. Everyone is fascinated. They want to know more about India. And they want to know more about Indian cinema, because I think a lot of people know of Bollywood, but not this space. So.
Right. This is not Bollywood.
No, it's not. No dancing, no singing. No.
Yes, sir.
Sonali Kulkarni we know, but how did you find these amazing child artists?
Well, the girl, I went to a slum in Ahmedabad, outside Ahmedabad, and yeah, I think we were.
Young boy?
The young boy is from Bombay. I wanted to get an urban couple from Bombay and a family from Bombay. So they were outside the highway system. I wanted them to be foreigners, so to speak, to the highway or alien to the highway. So, but the girl is very much from a slum outside Ahmedabad. If I remember right, someone stuck their tongue out at her and she stuck her tongue back, and then it flowed from there. She's very good.
In the scene, almost the last scene, with the mother and father and the child
Yes.
in the car, why didn't you place the puppy in there?
A lot of people have asked me this. I think the puppy belongs to the world of this highway. Many things belong to this highway, and the highway doesn't change. The highway remains as it was. It would be too nice and too sweet and therefore unreal for the puppy to travel back to Bombay with them or be a part of that family. I think the highway has done its bit. It's shown the boy and it's shown the family about life on the highway and the humanity of it. And I think they move on. They belong to that world. They remain there. And in reality, the puppy was never far from his mother. Because at the end of the day, the puppy had a handler and will go back to the family and the parents. So, yeah.
Thank you so much for making this movie.
Thank you.
I'm glad it's not a caricature of what you do. Several questions. Who are the people on the run?
Yeah.
And what is their religion? How did you come across them? Why did you feature them in the film? Why don't we see more of them?
You don't see more of them because they've never been filmed, and I don't know if they'll ever be. They're called the Dhaneta Jats. They live in the run, or on the border of the run, the Bunny, and they essentially do a lot of tracking work. They find people lost in the desert or in the run. But they have very strict rules. They're Muslim, and they're very strict rules. The women folk get back into the village before sunset. And I had about 2 hours to shoot with them. So,
How did you get them to agree?
very tough. We went convinced. Then finally the elder came, the village elder. He was wearing green. He came. And he walked and he stood with us. But it was very difficult to convince them.
The brothel?
The brothel is something I visited in Jharkhand. I have documented something similar to that. In Gujarat, prostitution takes place in a very different context. It's more from the house, traditionally. Though there are spots like this developing along highways. But this is much more from that model that I saw that's operative in central India. And those are not truck drivers in central India as much as shepherds and, migrant labor.
So I was going to ask about the brothel, but in addition to that social issue, you also expose police corruption in that they have to pay bribes and things like that. Any other social issues that you wanted to highlight that, to the public?
There are many social issues. This film has got a lot of layers, and actually, a lot of layers and a lot of. The thing is that it's in Gujarati. Even Hindi audiences don't get it. But there's I don't know.
Exploitation, slavery.
There are a lot of. There's a lot of exploitation. There's a lot of. That happens a lot. So. But in central India, where I find, it's very common. And actually, the reality is a little worse than what is shown. But I think it would be very gratuitous to just show that. It'll be voyeuristic, actually, as well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing this wonderful film with us. My question is, were you in different sort of highways, north, south, east, west, before you settle on this particular area? And then if you were looking at other highways, what would have been sort of idiosyncratic of, an experience like you highlighted here different, if you had picked, say, the south or, even the eastern part of India?
I travel mainly in Western India, starting from an area just south of Goa, right up to UP. But there's a road, the Satara road, that sort of area. Gujarat is unique because Gujarati drivers don't like to be away from home, particularly Kutchi drivers. They don't like to be out for more than 2 days. And there's so much in small-scale industry in Gujarat that they actually are able to do that. The regular run would be to go pick up lignite, drop it to a factory, then pick up salt, then, it's all within the area. I liked Gujarat because I like Kutch because one, it's very beautiful, it's very flat, it's just a lot of color, culture, and I wanted to use all that in the film. I think that if I had shot it elsewhere, maybe I wouldn't have got this sparseness and this sort of quality that's very difficult to explain, but as, making films is a bit like painting. I can't explain this, but I got a sense of it when I had gone to Kutch, and I was very excited by that. I don't think I would have got that elsewhere.
What has been the reactions of various people? I think it's brilliant,
Thank you.
but the general public or the Bollywood people, how are they reacting?
I don't know. I actually don't know how they're reacting. I haven't been paying attention to, but I don't know about Bollywood. It was shown, it released it won the national award this year, so it was telecast and it was released in Gujarat. And there were young people in Gujarat who really liked it. Then predictably there were a whole lot of people who wanted to hang me because they said I brought a bad name to the state of Gujarat and that sort of thing. But that's, I guess that's par for the course, right? Today in India, that happens. But Bollywood, I don't think Bollywood, as in the Bollywood industry, I don't think they're interested in this at all. But here's the thing, I think that they're really young people in Metro India who would be interested in this. The confidence, my producer didn't have the confidence to release it because it's a Gujarati film and Indians are not good at subtitles. They don't like to read subtitles. But that might change because I'm trying to convince them. So.
But can it make money?
I don't know. I'm sure it will, but I'm not a money guy. I don't know. That's the producer will, yeah. I didn't do it for, none of us got paid for it. We kind of did this at a pittance or like a signing amount. And it's come quite far. I'm here, right? So that's a good thing that it's, we didn't think that any of this when we made it. We just loved the idea. And
I was telling Nandita, there's one old friend of mine who would have loved it is Chattu Yusre.
oh man, tell me about it. I think he's just an incredible presence, and his films and all that whole generation, and we've lost that actually. Somewhere around the mid-80s or something, we got lost in somewhere else. I think it might be coming back now. I don't know.
Can you, I'll go to more questions in a moment. What was the process of making the movie? In terms of getting people to greenlight the project?
When I first started writing this, I didn't think it would be a film. I didn't dare think that it would be a film. I just traveled. I had my day job in advertising, and I didn't tell anyone that I was doing this, but I used to travel, go out. And then when I started writing, a lot of my friends saw my stuff and they said, you should write a book or do a play or make a film. And I was like, who will fund it? And all the questions that filmmakers go through, because it's expensive making films. And then luckily I found out about NFGC, my producer, and then I applied and they greenlit it. Then after that it was good. Yeah.
Well, I know you had direct experience traveling. I was curious how you did your research on specifically like the brothel, and if you could talk about it. There's like a community.
I went to brothels purely for research, and I had friends who had gone, and there's a lot of documentation on that. Vishaka helped me a lot because she's done a lot of work in that. So through friends and colleagues, I connected with people, and I got. But it takes a long time to research, and then of course I interviewed prostitutes or people. people who had been prostitutes who are now working with NGOs, and so.
So did you make that at the stage, or was that a place that existed?
This in the film, ironically, that's a army barrack that I converted into this. So or police station or something. I kind of like that idea a lot. No, very often in Jharkhand, they don't have a structure. It's like a stage, and it's literally a stage, and it's dismantled after they come there. Then they're there for 7 days, and then they go to the next area. In Kutch, it's too cold to do that. It's really cold when we were shooting this. So we had to have walls and a strong wind. So.
Is it part of your hope to make audiences aware of some of the NGO work that's going on to address this issue of the brothels?
I didn't set out to do that, but actually now I am involved with an NGO, and when I go back, I'll be doing some work for them. I think they're doing great work.
What
So.
is the name of it?
It's Laura Entwistle. She's based in Singapore. Her unit is called Emancipate. So they're raising funds for educating girl children, and I'd like to. But that's got nothing to do with the film. That's just something I want to do. But that's got nothing to do with the film. The film is a film, so it's not. I wouldn't want this film to gain traction because of any kind of NGO work it's doing.
Was Wrinkle, the young woman who played the character with the same name, had she been a prostitute, and was she still when you were filming?
It is really difficult to cast the other girls. I was in Kutch, in Gujarat, I was getting a category of girls who were like bizarrely, the very high-end call girls who were coming to the set, and it was, it was not working for me at all. So then the girls in the background belong to the nut community, the nuts, I don't know if in Bombay, the street circus you have so that community, but they were not able to act at all. So Wrinkle is a school girl from Bombay, and then she took to direction well, so we took her. But I kind of liked her delicateness, and she's very beautiful. I mean, she's really quite stunning. And I thought that was nice because it sort of played against the grain because there's good and bad in everyone, right? No one is a bad person, no one's a good person. There's circumstance. So I thought it was interesting to take her.
How old is she? The actual girl?
Yeah, she would be, when we were shooting the film,
Yeah.
she'd be about 13, I think. 13, 13.
It's a hard thing to explain to a 13-year-old.
Actually, this is a good question. I was very nervous about that, and the ADs came to me and said, how do we do it? And I said, just tell them. I mean, be upfront. Don't hide things. And they all got it immediately. We sat with the parents, we sat with them. And
if these were real people, could you speculate what would happen to the driver and his assistant?
Very good question. When the accident took place, there was one accident when we were shooting where we almost had someone lose their life. And that was like a real accident. So he was there and he was shaking. And I asked him, I said, Shamji, his name is Shamji, I said, what's the problem? And he said that this is the worst kind of thing that happens to truck drivers, because if we are caught, we are beaten mercilessly before we are handed over to the police. So generally they run away. Quite often they get away and they live another day. I mean, and they drive somewhere else, Yeah.
Brilliant, amazing film.
Thank you.
So in your travels, I noticed that at the end, the truck was just turned over on its side.
Yes.
Presumably abandoned.
Yes.
With all the goods inside.
Yes.
Did you see a lot of those sort of abandoned trucks when you kept driving up and down the highway?
Yeah, quite often. Because, a truck driver gets about, like, say, 10,000 rupees. The material he's carrying is several hundred thousand. So there's a tremendous fear, so he just runs away. The material is left there. But in this film, everything that happens in the film, there's a premonition of it happening. Like the boy is playing with toys and then there's a near accident. So right in the beginning. So similarly, the deal was that he was to hand over the truck to the other guys. They would take off the material and throw the truck and claim the insurance. And that's done. That's done quite often. But of course, everything goes wrong because he decides to save the child and deliver the child to do the right thing basically. So,
Lovely story.
thank you.
You have a wonderful imagination.
I was going to ask whether the sort of the irony of the whole thing was who's fulfilling the insurance scam.
But he doesn't benefit from it.
I know, but
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So, but ultimately, he's lost everything, but he's won a lot, right? I mean, he's done what's right. He's done. Yeah.
Thank you for the film.
Thank you.
Were you debating when the truck, you think about the truck tipping over, whether someone would be seriously hurt? Or was that your intention just to come out with just scratches? Were you thinking about, when you were making the film, having someone serious hurt in that truck?
There must have been about 25 drafts. And in one of the drafts they died, in one of the drafts they didn't die, one of the drafts they were badly injured, one of the drafts they weren't bad. This is the process. It just goes on and you go. But I like this because I thought this is sticking to the story. It was not overtly dramatic. And the drama, I think in films, I believe that drama should be strong enough to stand on its own without being forced by music, by edit, by, including performance. I mean, have you seen Bollywood performances? They'll dramatize anything. Yeah.
Is it a very common thing for truck drivers to drive children to destinations?
No, not really, no. I mean, as in children, as in not prostitutes, right?
No,
Yeah, no. Children who run away and who want to join the truck generally start in the dhaba, helping, being tea boys and, helping with the cooking or serving or cleaning dishes. Then the next step would be mechanic, assisting the mechanic, and then at about 18 or 19 getting on to being a cleaner. And in that sense it's unusual because I wanted the cleaner to be threatened by the boy. That was the idea. And then later he becomes the boy's mother, and then the truck driver is the father, and that's the metaphor for the ideal home that he is creating. So, yeah.
The film reminded me of a film I saw long ago by Wim Wenders called, I think it's called Kings of the Road, which has a certain restraint and cinematic beauty as well. Are you, by any chance, aware of that film?
No.
I'm just curious.
I know some of Wim Wenders' work. Sorry?
I offer that then as something that you might want to look at because there's a kinship in the feeling of the film. It's a very beautiful film, and it's an early film of the great German filmmaker Wim Wenders.
I know, but I don't know about this film. But
he made it in Germany. It's a road film. The protagonist is the road.
Oh, okay.
And it was made before we all knew of Wim Wenders.
I haven't seen it. I saw some road movies before doing this. I thought it'd be interesting. I saw that Spielberg film Duel and films of that, but I didn't see this.
I believe the reception materials are just about ready. As a final question, I thought I might ask, what's next for you? What is next on your active agenda? Your first film hit a 6, so what do you follow it up with?
Yeah, now the huge expectations aren't there. That's quite a problem. I'm working on some stories. I have actually working on 3 stories, but this time I promise they won't be in the same film. I hope I can make them in 3 separate films. It's very tough. And I'm exploring and looking at options. So
Both in India and also here, or?
actually, since I've been here, there are a couple of people have spoken to me about doing some films here. So there are a couple of ideas that I've been pursuing, and I will develop them. But my primary focus, I think, would be, I think India is rich with stories and and characters.
Very true. On that optimistic note, I'd like to thank Gyan for both being here and also for sharing his wonderful movie with us. Thank you.
Thank you.